Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host Cody Tanner and his sidekick T'Challa there.
Yeah, he's hanging.
Cody, how are you and your cat doing today?
We're fantastic. I don't know what he's in a mood today. But no, we're doing fantastic. We're excited. Football. It was fun seeing football this weekend a little bit, here and there. But no, we're doing good. James, how are you?
Doing all right, man. I always enjoy the East-West Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl. It brings the reality of the NFL draft being close that much closer. Those are like the two big neon signs to me of, one of them is 10 miles till the NFL draft. One of them is 11 miles, and you're getting that close.
The Super Bowl is like 9 miles.
No, that's like 2 miles.
Is it 2?
Well, no, I guess I'm saying as far as like weeks
I get
away
what you're saying.
versus yeah. So like that's really close as far as the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Also real quick, one shout out to our good friend Ryan for hitting a new bench.
Yeah,
got to give him a shout out. He's going over to your house at Jim Strong. Mm-hmm. If you're ever in Erie, PA, hit up James. He'll let you come work out. But no, I think there was something else I was going to say. Now I forgot. But we were talking about it. I don't remember now. It was about the draft, but that's okay. We'll get back to it. We have Steelers by the Lake news first, too.
Absolutely. It's a new month. And when a new month comes around, we tell you about who our top downloading states and countries were from the previous month. So we're going to get these states out of the way first. The big shocker of the month, Pennsylvania coming in at number 1. Woo! Once in a while they get dethroned, but back on top as they belong. State number 2, a newcomer, Oregon. So fun to see the large influx. Appreciate you new listeners there. Number 3, Ohio, one of our old faithful states. Number 4, California has basically been a top downloading state for us since the beginning, about 5 years ago now. And then number 5, Missouri. Missouri was real big for us last year. So really appreciate you listeners out there in Missouri joining and sticking around. And coming back week after week. Appreciate you very much. If you ever feel like it, feel free to just put in the comments or even on our Facebook page somewhere. Where'd you hear about us? How'd you start listening? Is there anything you really like about the show? Anything like that. We love feedback from our listeners, especially seeing some areas here where we've got some new repetitive listeners. So yes, appreciate y'all very much.
100%. Top countries, James. Top countries for downloaded countries. Shocker here as well. Number 1, United States. Yeah, I know, right? Wow. Number 2 was Canada this month. And then number 3 was Spain. And number 4 on the list, tied for number 3, not number 4, was Vietnam. So
nice.
Very intriguing there. But no.
Always makes me wonder if it's people on vacation or
what is it?
Yeah, a lot of times our listeners in other countries come and go, and it's not real regular. So if you were on vacation and downloaded us while you're on vacation, shout out to you. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys so much for listening, watching. Again, if you're on YouTube, these numbers are specifically for the audio downloads, not the YouTube videos. But again, we thank you guys so much for being a part of the Steelers by the Lake family. We previewed it last week. We're going to go over it again real quick. We are going to go over our top 5 free agents that we want to target. And then at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about, or do you want to do that first? However you want to do it.
Let's talk about the new offensive coordinator first. That's the big news in Pittsburgh land, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So we finally know the answer, and the answer is Arthur Smith. Most recently, the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Before that, a very successful offensive coordinator with the Tennessee Titans. So it depends on how you want to look at this. I look at this in a light of, hey, we're not hiring him to be the head coach, so I'm not really concerned about what he did as a head coach. I'm concerned about what he did as an offensive coordinator.
Yep.
And as an offensive coordinator with the Tennessee Titans in his 2 years there, they were the 10th best scoring team and the 4th best scoring team. Derrick Henry had his best years as an NFL professional there while he was the offensive coordinator. And A.J. Brown was so good they were able to trade him away and get some high assets.
Yep.
So they had some really good years while he was there. I mean, for crying out loud, he made Ryan Tannehill look like a good quarterback for a couple of years, which he never was before and has not been since as well.
Yeah.
So I think there's something to be said about this. A guy who definitely prioritizes the run game and maybe understands how to maximize the strengths of a quarterback who's not top tier and get the most out of him.
Well, and I'm going to say this too. He was previously the head coach. I know we're not talking head coach stuff, but previously the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
Just this past year, Kyle Pitts, their starting tight end. There you go. There's that smooth crack. Red Bull to you, sir. Very nice.
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts, that superstar young tight end, 110 targets.
Woo!
You want to know how many targets Pittsburgh's tight ends had between all four of them?
let me guess. 75.
Mm-mm.
Not that many?
No, a little bit more. 93.
93 between all of them.
Their first,
Wow.
their one tight end had 110. Their second tight end had 31, and their third tight end had 11.
I understand that the Arthur Smith offense is very heavy into tight ends.
Yep.
He uses a fullback, and he does not use 3 wide receivers very often. So that kind of changes the perspective of how you look at building the 2024 Pittsburgh Steelers roster. A lot of people are talking about how Allen Robinson is due a ton of money next year and most likely to be cut or restructured on that deal. They're not going to pay a number 3 wide receiver $10 million to barely ever get the ball thrown to
especially
him.
when he's number 4.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how you look at that, obviously. But I would say that they're just going to move on from him. I can't imagine he'll restructure that all the way down to a league minimum deal.
No.
And that's probably the only way they'd be interested in keeping him.
Yeah.
So I would imagine Calvin Austin III will be the number 3, like 100% the number 3 going into next season. And probably won't play a ton other than special teams because they just don't do it in an Arthur Smith offense. But you know what? We got the tight ends to do this.
We do.
And it also leads me to my next thing, which is something we've been talking about ever since he got drafted.
Yeah.
Connor Hayward, if you aren't already doing it, get seconds and thirds at every meal. No more benching with sets of 10. We're going heavy. Going triples. Something you can bench only 3 times, and you're doing it as many times as possible.
He's not going to get taller, so he's got to get bigger.
It is bulking season for the next couple years for you, buddy. You need to get as thick as you possibly can because, and that was the thing. Like, Connor Hayward has been fun to watch, but he hasn't been that weapon that you were hoping he could be, that multi-use tool, that mismatch versus linebackers and safety. He just hasn't been.
Nope.
And he's not going to get drastically more athletic or faster, and he's certainly, as you just mentioned, not going to get taller.
Nope.
So let's slide him into that fullback rule and get him extra meals and seconds and extra dessert and just really bulk him up, man. Let's get him up to 250, 255 and have him start smashing into people and see how that works out. Let's get him the size of his dad. Ironhead Hayward was such a thick fullback in the NFL.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
If he can get that thick boy eating habit and workout regimen going on, maybe, man, maybe. You never know.
He'll be all right. He'll make it work.
Yeah.
But no, with that being said, Pittsburgh also interviewed, and I wonder if I can pull this up. So Pittsburgh also interviewed for a new position, the passing game coordinator, which is something that they are adding this year, which again, it's normally the quarterback coach. But Pittsburgh is actually looking to add that extra staff. I'm trying to see the 3 guys they interviewed for this. It looks
an
like
interesting twist while you're looking that up, or do you have it already?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
There was it's pointing out different guys, but there were 3 guys interviewed for.
While you're finding that, Mike Sullivan was the offensive coordinator, fill in, and the quarterbacks coach for Pittsburgh last season, right? Thought he did a lot better job than what we had with Matt Canada as far as calling plays. Because of it, he's been getting interviews as an offensive coordinator. Now, it looked like all those positions were filled, but the guy that took the job for the Raiders just backed out of it. So now the rumor is Mike Sullivan's actually a favorite to get that Raiders offensive coordinator position. And if that happens, he would have been kind of the de facto passing game coordinator. They didn't technically have one. Your quarterback's coach usually does that. So I would expect this to be someone to kind of fill that role of quarterbacks coach and passing game coordinator, which also gives you the opportunity to kind of pay him a little bit better.
Yeah.
Maybe allow that person to want to stick around for a couple of years, and then maybe be the heir apparent to Arthur Smith if he gets back into head coaching after his 3-year stint with Pittsburgh's up.
Yeah, so the guys on this list, the Steelers were interviewing Los Angeles Chargers passing game specialist Tom Arth, New York Jets wide receivers coach Zach Azani, and Tennessee Titans passing game coordinator and QB's coach Charles London for their new pass game coordinator position on the offensive staff. So
Cool.
those are the guys that they've been looking at. I mean, you think about the Chargers and how they've had success with Justin Herbert. So there's something to be said about that one for sure. Tennessee, whatever. Detroit, don't get me started, or Chicago, don't get me started. But it's still interesting to have that specific role or position on the team moving forward. So excited for that. Now it's time to talk about the fun stuff. The main meal of this episode, we're going to talk about our top 5 targets for free agency. James, you want to go 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5?
Yeah, let's do that, man. Let's each talk about a guy, and then fill the viewers and listeners in on why that's somebody we'd be interested in bringing in. Do you want to go first with your first guy?
Yeah, I can. So my first guy is going to surprise you here a little bit, especially because he kind of had a very non-productive season, to say the least. He was recently traded from another team, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, let me double check this. He's actually, so he's listed in a lot of different areas as a safety. I would want him to come in to play linebacker, specifically for us, and specifically inside linebacker. I know we saw the injuries this year. We talked about it a lot. Specifically, the guy that I am looking for is Isaiah Simmons.
Isaiah Simmons.
And if I'm not mistaken, he was actually put on, I don't know if he was put on IR this year or if he just didn't get much playing time, but I want to see him come in. No, he got some playing time, but I think he was like mostly a special teams role. Didn't have a whole lot of other stats listed. He did play outside linebacker for the Giants. He played safety in Arizona, and then I think that he could come in and potentially take that inside linebacker role and play it fairly well. I think he's fast enough. He's definitely tall enough. He reminds me a lot of like Tremaine Edmonds from when he played in Buffalo. I don't know where he is now. I think he might still be Buffalo. I don't know. But that tall, bulky guy, he can, crash down and crush a hole and meet a running back, even a running back like Derrick Henry in the hole, if you want to talk about bigger guys. And he's also capable of, how many times have you seen a ball get thrown over our middle linebackers and they're just not tall enough to tip it or hit it or whatever? He solves all those problems. I'm not saying he'd be an immediate day one starter. We have some guys in the building that we think are potential starter. I mean, Cole Holcomb, obviously. Quan Alexander, we talked about a little bit, but I'm just curious to see if we bring in some depth pieces, especially, again, how many years in a row do we have to have middle linebacker injury problems to get more bodies in here? So that is my number 1 target.
Yeah, I don't mind that one bit. As a middle linebacker, it seems like the position that he would fit best as far as like his build. And his background in college was very much so as like a multi-purpose tool. Played safety, played linebacker, kind of jumped all over, and he's had a tough time finding the right position in the NFL. I got to feel like his best role is a middle linebacker against passing situations. So even if he's not an every down guy, if he's not good against the run, you stick him out there in that nickel and dime unit, and he can cover a lot of space. It's a very, very athletic individual. I want to say he was like a 4.38 40 or something stupid fast like that. Like he's up there with Devin Bush as far as that speed. Very, very fast for that size of a guy. And isn't he like 6'4"?
4.39.
Yeah, 4.39. I said 4.38. Not too bad. My memory's
Yeah,
okay.
6'4", 238.
Yeah, I mean, that's an enormous individual. That kind of span, that kind of athleticism, you can cover a ton of ground and really help take away some of these tight ends that have been such an issue for Pittsburgh coverage wise.
Yep.
My number one guy on my list, if you've been a long time listener to Steelers by the Lake, you haven't heard me say this name in a number of years now, but when he came out as a rookie, I was huge on him. Watched him in the East West Shrine game, and he absolutely popped. Michael Onwenu came into the NFL as a guard, started playing some offensive tackle for the New England Patriots. His rookie contract is up. He will be an unrestricted free agent. Now, it doesn't mean that they won't re-sign him. They could,
Yep.
but this is somebody that you could slap and start at right tackle right away, and then you don't have to address it in the NFL draft as far as the offensive tackle position. You just move the rookie right back over to left tackle where we originally intended on playing him, and then you're good at tackle for a while because he was a younger prospect. So probably by now he's only probably like 25 years old or 26 years old or something. So you could easily get another 4 or 5 years out of him before having to worry about a decline in play. What I loved about him when he came out was that he made a big impact in his own physical size and dropped weight to get in better shape. And he had a really nice wingspan, really long arms. So that's what you're looking for, somebody who understands what it takes work wise and has the athletic tools to take care of things. So I'd be ecstatic if Pittsburgh was able to get Michael Onwenu, and I think it would solidify the offensive tackle position. Then you're only worried about your center because the guards are pretty solid.
Yep. Do you want to do number 2 now?
Sure, we'll snake it.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. So my number 2 is a cornerback who specializes in the slot, Kenny Moore. Kenny Moore is going to be an unrestricted free agent once again. Highly skilled slot corner, one of the best slot corners in the NFL. It's tough to get a slot corner out of the draft.
It is.
Usually, when people talk about drafting a slot corner, it's just you're taking somebody who played outside corner at the college level, and he's too short and too slow to play in the NFL. Sure, Kenny Moore is not a tall dude, but he has had a serious resume as a highly successful slot corner in the NFL. And if you do that, then you're just looking for an outside corner, which is easier to find opposite of Joey Porter Jr. So I would love to see a guy like Kenny Moore, and I think at this stage he wouldn't be top dollar anymore. I think his prime years are behind him at this point. Not to the extent of Patrick Peterson, where you're worried about even putting him on the field, but he's not going to command the $15 to $20 million a year like he would have in his younger years. You might be able to get him in that 5 to 10 mil range, and if so, and you get one of the top slot corners in the NFL, I'm all in on it.
No, that's fair. I'm down for that. Slot corner is a position that we have a question mark. We obviously have Corey Trice still, kind of that the same thing Calvin Austin was last year. We have like an extra rookie on the team. We're going to see what Corey Trice can do. I would love for him to come out and just be the number 2 and be able to play opposite of Joey Porter Jr. That would give us so much youth at that cornerback position and playable youth at that. My number 2 is going to go. I'm sticking with the secondary, but I'm going to the safety position with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. 26-year-old, previously played for Detroit, had some injury issues this year. He played early in the year, played 2 games, and then didn't play again until January. But in the last 4 games, he had 2 interceptions. Very capable safety. We've seen what happens with our safety depth. Again, the injury problems we had this year, all over the place with safety. I would love to see him come in. And I know that I don't believe he's a natural, like free safety. Well, Minka used to be listed as free safety. Now he's listed as strong safety. I don't get that. I think he still plays mostly free.
He's free. Yeah, that's where he's a Pro Bowler and All Pro as a free safety.
And I don't think C.J. Gardner-Johnson, I don't think he played strong safety, but I think he would play well at strong safety. I think he was.
What's his size? I feel like he's a really good hitter. I know that the
5'11",
tape I've seen
208.
on, yeah, that's a guy could definitely play strong safety. So, yeah, I think that's a great choice. One of the big things C.J. Gardner-Johnson's known for, one of the biggest parts of his body is his mouth.
Oh yeah.
This dude runs his mouth and chirps at anybody that comes near him. A guy with more confidence than Superman. Just that's the kind of guy you want on your defense. You put him opposite of Minka Fitzpatrick, and you can let Minka play.
Yep.
You can let Minka go out there and do what he does best, which is just be that ball hawking safety instead of having to match up one on one versus safety or versus tight ends and
Running
go
backs
over the
even.
top. Yeah, going over the top of this wide receiver specifically because we know that the corner that's going against them can't run with him. So you're just going to be the guy that makes sure he doesn't get us deep.
Yep.
Like, yeah, let's let him be a safety. Let's let him be that Troy Polamalu-esque player that he was looking like the year before when he led the league in interceptions. So I think that's a great call out. Who do you got for your third guy, Cody?
Oh, my third guy. I'm gonna bounce away from this one because I feel like it's cheating. I'm gonna go to my fourth. No, I'll bump my fourth guy up to my third guy and we'll drop down. Jonah Williams is gonna be my third guy. Right tackle, Cincinnati Bengals. Previously played for. This is another guy that could come in and immediately take over that position, which would give us a lot of, I think, more comfortable offensive game planning on that right side of the line. I mean, we bounced around. Who was there? We had Chuk Okorafor there for a while. He's probably going to get dropped off the team because he wasn't even playing at the end of the year. And then they tried throwing Broderick over
Jones.
there.
Yeah.
I think Broderick needs to stay at left tackle. This kind of solidifies that those two tackle positions. Jonah Williams coming in and being that starting right tackle, having Broderick young and develop on the left side, really solidifies the outside of that offensive line unit, and then you can kind of focus on bringing the middle back in. I think James Daniels is still a good pick on inside as a guard. I don't think we have our future center on the team, and maybe we don't even have the other guard. Who knows? But with that being said, that would kind of solidify those tackle positions on the offensive line.
Gotcha. This is your first one that I'm not as big of a fan, but just because I don't like the tape on Jonah Williams.
That's fair.
He started off as a left tackle and was absolutely abused at that position. Moved over to right and swore to the Bengals that he wouldn't play right tackle. He'd quit the team before he played, and then he ended up playing it anyway. So I do worry a little bit about his attitude and whether or not he would be willing to play right tackle, and then whether or not he would hold up at right tackle, because he's been kind of up and down in his career so far, losing his starting job pretty early into his career, unfortunately for him. But he has a former first-round pick, so maybe you can unlock that old potential of what he used to be. Number 3 guy for me, Steven Nelson. Steven Nelson having himself another solid year for the Houston Texans this year. Seems like he's played for half of the NFL at this point, and he seems to keep on going to a team, having a really nice year, and then leaving in free agency. And he's never going to be thought of as the number one corner. Recommend signing him to a 3 or 4 year deal. I think you sign Steven Nelson to a 2-year deal, and you don't have to worry about corner number 2 for a couple of years. When he played for Pittsburgh before, his last season with us was absolutely shut down. He was incredible for us. And I think he was opposite Joe Hayden at the time, maybe. And he played really well for Pittsburgh. You're not talking a big dude. He's only 5'11", but he plays bigger than what his size is. For the Houston Texans in the playoffs, he was making interceptions in the playoffs and was one of the guys to expose Joe Flacco for the turnover king that he is. And I think that a reunion with a guy like him would be appropriate. And again, not break the bank.
Yep.
He's not an elite corner, so you're not going to have to pay him $15+ million to get him. Might be able to get him in that $10 million plus range. And solidify a position and then be able to prioritize other things that are needed a little bit more, like we've mentioned multiple times, maybe a center. So that's my number 3 guy on the list. My number 4 guy, going back to the same position you went to at number 2, just a different name, Antoine Winfield Jr. Antoine Winfield Jr. was, again, a guy I really liked coming out of college. Can't believe he's already a free agent, so just shows how long we've been doing the show. He was one of the people that I learned through this process that a lot of times the NFL doesn't bother with safeties in the first round until late in the first round. And then beginning of the second round, they go all in on it, right?
Yep.
And you'll get like 4 or 5 safeties go in the first 15 picks of the second round.
Yep.
So that's what happened with him that year. Chance to get him in the second round. So I think he'd be an awesome addition and would be really nice next to Minkah Fitzpatrick back there.
Yeah, no, I can't agree more. Thinking about him and his time, even in the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs, and just his play style, would really do the same thing that I think C.J. Gardner would do, in allowing, just like you talked about, allowing Minka to free up to play his style of football. Which, quite frankly, I mean, that's what you have to do as a coach. When you're coaching a team or putting together a team or however you want to look at it, you're trying to build pieces and you're trying to use other pieces to build off of each other. And that's exactly what we're talking about with a lot of these guys coming in and helping out. So I can't agree more. Number 4 on my list is a guy you already talked about, Steven Nelson. I think that it would be fantastic to get him back in the building. And he already knows somewhat of the system. He's familiar with the guys on the team. He'd come in and probably be able to help mentor the young guys. I think it would just be a really good like reunion with Steven Nelson and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Honestly, I was thinking this too for a while. I know that Mike Hilton's not a free agent, but like I was processing Mike Hilton coming back or Steven Nelson coming back. And as much as I like Mike Hilton in the slot and his ability to blitz the quarterback, I think that Steven Nelson would be more likely to come back to Pittsburgh than Mike Hilton.
I agree.
Mike Hilton did not exactly enjoy his time on the way out and everything. So I love the Steven Nelson pick. You hit it right on the nail when you talked about it earlier. Hit the nail right on the head. So Steven Nelson is a guy that I would love to see back in the building.
Awesome. Who you got for your 5th and final free agent pickup?
My last pickup, and so this is exactly what I just talked about. I kind of did that leading up to this. You kind of put teams together to build off of each other. My last guy is Ezra Cleveland. He's been used as a tackle. He's been used as a guard. I would want him to be used as a guard in this situation, to kind of shore up that offensive line. And here's the thing. He didn't have a phenomenal year last year, but he also played for the Jags, which don't have a phenomenal offensive line. When you don't have good guys around you, you kind of get more pressure on you, and it's harder for you to do stuff. I'm not saying he's bad by any means, but he did have a tough year. And kind of the same thing with Jonah Williams. Jonah Williams had a horrible year. But I think that when you put these guys in a correct system and get them around the right people, they can play better. And I just think back to the group we had, with Alejandro Villanueva, DeCastro, Pouncey, Ramon Foster, all these guys that they made each other better. And I want to get groups of guys in here that I think could do that. I think all these guys are good alone. And I think if we got them in the room together, Ezra Cleveland would be a great piece to put right beside Broderick Jones, or even if you wanted to put on the other side, against, whatever right tackle we decide to go with, if it happened to be another free agent or a guy we already have on the team, or a rookie, if we draft another offensive lineman rookie. So I think Ezra Cleveland has a chance to revitalize his career a little bit.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh absolutely values versatility in the offensive line, right? So I could see that definitely being a guy that they would consider bringing in, especially with his experience as a tackle and a guard.
Mm-hmm.
That way you have one guy that can fill in multiple positions. They love having that. They absolutely love that. So definitely somebody that should be a realistic option of someone they could consider. My 5th and final guy, Cody.
Oh, tell me.
Nose tackle, DJ Reader, an absolute just unit in the middle of your defense, a huge, massive individual who specializes in stopping the run. I think Pittsburgh is just desperately in need of that Casey Hampton, Steve McClendon type of Javon Hargrave, just big plugger in the middle, a guy that can take up 2 blockers, keep those middle linebackers free so they can go make plays. I don't expect Nick Chubb to have a season-ending injury again next season, so you're going to have to deal with them.
Yeah.
And if you're going to deal with them, you need to keep your linebackers free so that they can get one-on-ones with them. If they're trying to shake off a guard and make the tackle against Nick Chubb, they're going to get run over all the time. And realistically, we have to look at this conference, right? In the AFC North in our division, everybody loves to run the ball.
Yep.
So you need to be able to stop the run. The Browns love to run it. The Ravens, who just somehow keep on creeping to the top of the division, with who just is a better runner than he is a thrower of the football. I don't know how, but if you're not prioritizing those run-stopping defensive linemen, you're probably not doing it right. So I think I would like to see them value somebody in free agency that maybe you don't have to pay as much. Otherwise, maybe one of those fourth-round picks, you find a big nose plugger there, since we've got 2 fourth-round draft picks this year. That might not be a bad location to get a nose tackle as well. But somebody like this is proven and will upgrade your defensive line against the run day one.
Yeah. No, absolutely. If you guys have anyone you think that Pittsburgh should target in the free agency madness this year, let us know in the comments or message us on social media. We'd love to talk about who you think we should go after, why you think we should go after them, and then hey, if they go after them, we get them. Shout out to you on the podcast for sure that you called one of them. So again, thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
We're not talking the games.
We're not talking about what? Oh, you right. I forgot.
Say, Cody, I spent 6 hours watching these games. I forgot about the games. Notes. Talk about them a little
Let's
bit.
talk about the games. I forgot about the games.
Got some notes for you guys on the East-West Shrine Bowl and also the Senior Bowl. Just some guys that popped out to me in watching the games. A lot of watching these games, it's quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers. You don't get to see a whole lot otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
In the East-West Shrine Bowl, which was the Thursday game, I thought a few edge rushers really popped in this game. And then also saw a little bit from some running backs. So running back Jacob Kadodi, 6'1", 225, he was really fast. So awesome burst. Had some nice wiggle moves going on to make guys miss. So liked what I saw from him. Defensive tackle Miles Murphy was 6'3" and 7/8, 312 pounds with 33.5-inch arms. And I say all that to say that is the guy that fits the stereotype of what Pittsburgh looks for in a defensive end. He was extremely disruptive. Played basically like a 4-3 most of this game. So you saw him as an interior pass rusher. Worked his way past interior offensive linemen with ease. Moved guys around, disruptive tackles for loss. Had a great bull rush and was really pretty much immovable against the run. So that's somebody you could put on the opposite side of Cam Hayward and get him some playing time pretty early on. Nice length. I like that 33.5. That's tough to find in these guys. A lot of these guys that popped in these games didn't have the arm length I like, which sucks, man, because you know how big I am on that.
Yep.
Next guy fits that category. Nose tackle, Tuli Letuganesia. I probably butchered it. He's 6 foot and 7/8, so almost 6'1", 301, built like a fire hydrant, 31 and 7/8 inch long arms. But he was so stout. Reminded me of a young Casey Hampton and how thick Casey Hampton was. He was just like a square body. Didn't have that big gut or anything yet when he was a rookie coming out, but very, very stout. So run stopper, and he had some penetration versus the run. Doesn't offer you anything in the pass rush. So this would be like a 4th round or later guy most likely for you. Frank Gore Jr., Cody, you saw him in some highlights. Frank really had a nice game. Running back, I don't think is going to be something Pittsburgh prioritizes, but maybe you take a flyer in the 6th or 7th round with no 5th round picks. He was really, really, really quick. Really quick, great vision as well. He's only 5'7", 199 pounds, so kind of a smaller running back, but not uncommon for Pittsburgh's 3rd running back to be a smaller, quicker dude like that.
Yep.
Outside linebacker Mo Kamara, no clue if there's any relation to Kamara or not. I thought this was a guy that was really well put together. Almost 6'2". He's 6'1" and 7/8 with 252 pounds, 32.5-inch arms. His first step was crazy. Like he was winning with that first step on the edge over and over and over. So I was really impressed with that. And he had that dip and rip, kind of like how James Harrison used to, where he'd dip the shoulder and then rip that arm through. Lots of that with this guy, and he won with it over and over. Also had an inside counter off of it. showed an arsenal of pass rush moves. So I was pretty impressed with him as well. Safety Jalen Carleys. You're going to say, hopefully, you're talking about he made a great play and got an interception or a pass breakup. I honestly didn't really notice him much on defense until after a play. There was a punt return where a guy took it to the house, and this guy is like outrunning everyone, right? A short little guy for the team he was on.
Yeah.
He's outrunning everybody on the other team, and here comes this tall mother effer from way behind him, catching up to him like it's nothing. Like the guy returning it for a touchdown is outrunning everybody. He's running him down like DK Metcalf on that interception return last year that we saw when he ran down Buda Baker. And Buda Baker was like a 4.48 guy. DK ran him down like it was nothing. That's what this safety did. And he was just trying to get out there to throw a block.
Yep.
Why this stuck out to me, he's 6'2 and 3/8, 231 pounds with 34 and an eighth inch long arms. Massive, massive safety. So I would love a guy like that as a project strong safety, try to develop him as a guy opposite Minka. And you know what? If it doesn't work at safety, maybe he can play middle linebacker because that is one tall, fast dude right there, man.
Yep.
Defensive tackle, Jawan Briggs was 6'1 and a quarter, 313 pounds, 32 and a quarter inch long arms. Had a great burst. He was real quick on that first step. Was really good at disengaging his blocker to go get the running back, and was real quick for his size. A penetration guy, kind of like Larry Ogunjobi, where he wins by penetrating, not necessarily by stack and shed as much, but he did show some stack and shed ability. And then my last guy from the East-West Shrine Bowl, Jarius Monroe. Jarius actually won the defensive player of the game. He's 6 foot and 5/8, 204 pounds, 32 and a quarter inch long arms, and got a pick at the end of the game. Was an underthrown ball, but you know what? He made the play. And he was a guy that went from a small school and transferred to a larger school. So it showed his ability to step up to the higher competition and then go into a bowl game and pick. So yeah, the edge guys, the D tackles, that's kind of what stuck out for me in that game.
I apologize if I missed it. Did you talk about the UCLA linebacker Darius I don't even know how to say it. Masao?
I did see him. I didn't talk about him.
Okay, no,
he had a real nice hit real early in the game.
It was the first play of the game. It was the first play.
I was ready to write him down, and then I waited to see if he more, and then I never saw him do anything again the rest of the game.
Yeah,
but that was a real nice hit.
No, it was
only thing that concerned me on that is he didn't wrap up. He just kind of came in there and blew him up, and that's great. But in the NFL, you will need to wrap up because a lot of running backs
can't do that to Derrick Henry. You can't do that to Najee. You can't do that to a couple of these guys. So no, but I just wanted to talk about that one hit because I saw that and I was very impressed. He followed through, but just didn't wrap up at all. So yeah, there's a little bit of a concern there. Obviously, Pittsburgh's not going to go after a quarterback, but Tua's younger brother, correct, was in this game. Performed very well. So I'm excited to see where he goes. I just hope he doesn't go to an AFC team. I hope he goes NFC.
Yeah, real dynamic dude, very athletic like his brother, and at times accurate, at times not so accurate. He had a deep ball on the right sideline that would have gone for a touchdown, but he underthrew the guy pretty bad. And it was funny because the commentators were like, "Gee, that proves that he can throw the deep ball." And I was like, but he underthrew it so bad.
He can throw the ball deep, throw the deep ball.
But not deep enough to get the guy in stride. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of the Malik Willis. Do you remember his tryout, like his college practice tape? And at the very last pass he threw a practice, he just bombed it like 70 yards. And everybody was like, "Oh my God, that's awesome."
Yep.
Man, he missed that target so bad on that throw. Like when I saw that throw, my first instinct was he missed that guy by 20 yards, but he put so much air under it, the guy was able to run under. Like he was in the middle of the field at like the right hash mark, and that thing almost went out of bounds to the right side. He threw it so far, and the guy had to change shoulders and everything to go get the ball.
Yeah.
And I just thought, okay, yeah, you got a strong arm, but it's not accurate. So what's that do?
Not much.
So, yeah, kind of had a similar feel to that. But very, very explosive dude, very quick, very very good pocket presence. People didn't get him to the ground. He spun away from stuff. So he was an impressive player. I just think if Pittsburgh grabs another quarterback, it'll be probably somebody a little bit more traditional than that and a little bigger. He's such a short guy. That's tough in NFL. Not very many short quarterbacks make it. We see more of them get drafted and then not work out than we do see actually make it. Like a Drew Brees, that's rare to have a guy like that. And even that, Drew was like 6 foot.
Yeah.
This Tagovailoa, I don't think 5'9", 5'10". So
yeah,
that's a very tough transition for those real short dudes.
No, very much. Let's talk about the Senior Bowl.
Yes. Yeah, Senior Bowl got some more corners that popped. Some middle linebackers. That's kind of where I kept my focus in this game. The edge rushers didn't really have anywhere near as much success in this game. And I think a lot of that probably has to do with a higher skill level on the offensive line. It's really tough to point out individual offensive linemen. They didn't do a lot of screen plays where you can really see the athleticism of those guys getting out and pulling in front. But I thought offensive linemen in general mostly represented themselves pretty well. Seems like we've got a deep class, both tackle and guard. First guy to pop for me was a corner by the name of Nehemiah Pritchett.
Okay.
He got a real nice pass breakup early on in the game. 6 foot and 1/8, 188 pounds, only 31 and an eighth inch long arms. That's a concern as far as the NFL. You're looking for 32 plus on corners. Very few guys less than 32 have success at the next level. But it was a real nice pass breakup. Next guy, Tyke Smith, 5'9" and 6'8", so almost 5'10", 206 pounds, 31 and an eighth, so he's got short arms. But you know what? Tyke was all over the place. He high pointed a pass breakup. He was blowing people up. A real thickly built dude. And honestly, it surprised me a little bit to see his measurables come in as short as he is, because he played a lot bigger than that.
Mhm.
So I would say he's a strong safety type, but you worry about safeties that are that short. Again, not a ton of safeties that are short have a lot of success in the NFL. Troy Polamalu being the big red herring, like exception of that. But most of the time, your safeties should be 6 foot, 6'1" or bigger. So he misses the mark on the height, but not on the heart and not on the ability to high point people. All those stuck out as big pluses.
What do you think about
Another
Jarvis Brown
safety,
Lee? Do you have him on
Jarvis
your list?
Brown Lee. He's on my list, absolutely. A
Okay.
nickel corner type.
Mhm.
He's 5'10" and 5'8", 183 pounds. Almost has the arms you're looking for, 31 and 3/4. So at a nickel corner, you're not as concerned, so that's probably fine for a nickel guy. Had an interception on what was a pretty poorly thrown ball. A lot of the interceptions in this game were exactly that, where the ball was just thrown pretty
Receiver
badly.
was also on the ground, if I'm not mistaken, for that play.
Yeah. But in the end, he caught it clean, and he had a really exciting return where he was making like crazy.
Yep.
So if you got a chance to see that interception, it was a fun return, man. He was juking around like a punt return, man, and probably made 4 or 5 guys miss at least before they finally got him to the ground. So he did have himself a nice splash play in this game. Another safety jumped out to me in this, Evan Williams, 5'11" and 3/8, so he almost hits that 6 foot mark, 202 pounds, really short arms, 29 and change. Again, for a safety, not as big of a deal as it is for corners. He had an interception in the end zone. Can't ask for a better position for a guy to intercept the ball. And honestly, I thought he was all over the place, making a lot of plays in this game. So the arm length, I don't concern about as much with safeties, just because they're more tackling than they are like coverage guys.
Yeah.
But it might be a little bit of an issue for him if he has to match up one-on-one versus tight ends. That reach of tight ends might give him big ones in the NFL level. But as far as his abilities to play the ball and his instincts, seemed really good. A couple middle linebackers jumped out at game. Jackson Sermon was one of them. 6'2" and 2/8, 235 pounds. Arms a little on the short side of 30 and 3/8, but he had a real nice pass breakup. Almost got an interception on the play, and some pretty serious open field tackle in one-on-one situations where guys had the opportunity and plenty of space to juke him up, but they didn't.
Yep.
Was a team leader too. I think he was calling the defense too. So definitely somebody that should be on the radar. J.D. Bertrand, another middle linebacker, 6'1", 235, short arms, again, 30 and one quarter, but really high IQ and effort guy. Again, was in on tackles everywhere, all over the field. Tough to miss, big white number 27, I think it was, linebacker, just all over making plays. So he was pretty fun. Then a couple other middle linebackers I had on Cedric Gray, 6'1" and 6'8", 232 pounds, 32 and a half inch long arms. We got some length on this guy, right? He was fast, man. Really, really fast. It was a North Carolina guy, so no surprise on the speed. Had a high point pass breakup and somebody that was just all over the place as far as his tackles. Last middle linebacker that jumped out at me in the game, Trevin Wallace, more of a thumper type, 6'1" and 2/8", 244, 33-inch arms. And he was just one of those guys that if he hits you, you weren't going down, you're going backwards.
Yep.
So you like seeing those thick built dudes. How would he be in pass coverage at the next level? That's something that you're going to look to try and figure out at the combine. How does he do in those backpedal drills? How does he do in those change of direction drills? That's going to be really important for a guy like him because a lot of middle linebackers coming out now are in that 225 to 235 range. Him carrying 244 pounds is a disadvantage when it comes to change of direction skills, but has the size and physicality to make it happen. Last dude I had here is from this game, Shao Smith Wade, cornerback, 5'10", 187 pounds, real short arms, 29 and 3/4 inch on the arms. Had a diving interception on a overthrown ball, but it was one of those things where he could have given up on it. The receiver had no chance at the ball,
Yep.
but he dove in an extension like you'd see a wide receiver to do, caught the ball, and then had an exciting return on it. So some exciting plays from some corners and middle linebacker game, and some safeties as well. So I tried to focus a little more on positions that I thought Pittsburgh would be most likely to draft, and came away with some exciting prospects in both games.
No, that's fair. The one thing I want to talk about from this game, and it's not even from the game; it's actually from practice. Because I don't know that that anything super crazy happened in the game with him that was seen. But UConn offensive lineman Christian Haynes, excuse me, during practice, against an LSU defender or defensive lineman, had his helmet ripped off and thrown at one point, and after he blocked the defensive lineman very, very well, and had the composure not to get back, like not to get involved in any kind of thing, whatever. That's the part that impressed me. You got to imagine these young kids, these big kids, coming out of, college and just want to prove they're the toughest and they're the best. The composure he had after already blocking very well in practice when his helmet was ripped off and thrown. That's like thinking back to like when Najee was drafted and how well he presented himself. Like that was to me. Not that that's why you're drafting these guys. He is quite small, and not quite exactly the size you want, but that's just something exciting to look for with offensive linemen.
No, you like that maturity, right? In that situation, it's very easy to respond in anger. And honestly, I think this should be a big positive mark for guys scouting that offensive lineman. But just as much as it's a big positive mark for him, that should be a huge negative mark for that LSU defensive lineman, man. What are you doing losing your cool and ripping a guy's helmet off in practice?
Yep.
Like, if he does that in practice, what the hell is that guy going to do in a game? Because I'll tell you what he's going to do. He's going to cost you a game with 15-yard penalties in crucial situations, and I wouldn't want him.
Nope. If he goes
that
up,
guy
if he
just
goes
got
up,
him.
No, just go ahead.
Yeah, no, that guy just got him crossed off of probably 5 to 10 teams' lists by doing something stupid like that in a practice. Every team has scouts at these practices. It's all over the NFL Network. You can watch every single one of these, find it on YouTube, and then you're out there losing your head because you lost a rep? Bro, it's the NFL you're about to be in. You're going to lose reps more often than you win them, especially as a defensive lineman.
Yep.
You're going to win 1 out of every 15 to 20 reps and actually make a play. Are you going to just go ahead and rip the other guy's helmet off every time? Man, you better go to anger management or you ain't going to make it.
Yeah. And some teams have that kind of stuff where like, hey, we're going to draft you, but we expect you to go to anger management twice. Like, that's a real thing. Like, that's a
Yeah.
real thing that they, it's a potential that he has to go through. So, yeah, be on the lookout for that. That defensive lineman was LSU defensive lineman by the name of, I have it here. I'm just curious as to who it is. And now my stuff's freezing.
I could probably find it.
Give me 2 seconds. It's just not working.
That was the Senior Bowl, right?
Yes.
All right. Find LSU defensive lineman. Shouldn't take long.
Jordan Jefferson.
Whew. Bad look, Jordan.
Bad look.
Bad look. I know you listen, so.
Yeah, for real. No, but now with that being said, if you guys see anybody that you think Pittsburgh should draft from these games, or if you see anybody that played really well, let us know that in the comments as well as your top 5 or top however many free agents you think Pittsburgh should target. And we'd love to talk about it on the show next time. Again, thank you guys so much for listening and watching. If you're on YouTube, be sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe and ring the bell. It's free. Don't forget about those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. And until next time, this is your host, James and Cody, signing off.
Peace.